Thank you. If you're outside the hall, please, we'd like you to come in so we can commence immediately. May we please take our seats? The first panel session for the afternoon will be on the topic Forest Finance and Investment. Forest Finance and Investment, Unlocking the $2 billion Opportunity. Forest Finance and Investment, Unlocking the $2 billion Opportunity. And the moderator for that session will be Mr. Andrew David Adejo. He's a retired from the Federal Ministry of Education, Abuja. And then we also have the moderator and the panelists. Maybe please take our seats. Maybe please, those at the back, I'd like you to please take your seats so we can start. I was just making that introduction. Okay. So I'd mentioned earlier the topic for the panel discussions, which will commence shortly. But just before that, we're going to be calling up someone who would drive us into some conversations that would set the tone for the panel sessions that will come later on. He's the Executive Secretary, African Forest Forum, Nairobi, Kenya. He's going to be speaking to us on engaging African business and philanthropists for financing African forestry for sustainable development, defining partnerships, financing, mechanisms, and reforms. Can we please put our hands together as I call on Professor Labode Popola? A round of applause for him. Professor Labode Popola is the Executive Secretary, African Forest Forum, Nairobi, Kenya. Can we give him another round of applause? You're welcome, sir. So he would speak to us. Then after that, we'll dive deep into the panel session. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to use my Good. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I discovered that all the excellencies, the royal highnesses have left. So it's we that are here now. We, the people, are here. And I hope that we'll still be able to make sense out of this summit. I would like to say that we accepted to be part of this activity at the African Forest Forum because we saw the promise that it holds for the development of the forestry sector in Africa, not just in Nigeria, and also rural development, the rural economy, and the general livelihood of our people. But I need to make some preliminary comments. All through the day, we've been hearing about the prospects of the forestry sector generating X billions of dollars and all of that. And the question I kept on asking myself is, where is the resource base? Because we always like, in economics, we always like to talk about returns on investment. Have we invested in this sector? Are the resources actually there? I have been in forestry for some 40 years now, as a student, as a practitioner, as a tree planter, as a teacher and a researcher. The resources are not there across the states. The forest reserves have been de-reserved. They are now enclaves for bandits. So I really don't know where these resources will come from. I don't know where these $2 billion will come from. But that's not to deflate the essence of this discussion. Like I told the organizers, we want to restart the engine. The engine had been down for the past 20, 25 years. If we are serious about it, we can restart the engine. The prospects are there. The potentials are there. We can transform our economy through the forestry sector. But we need to do something. We have to invest in the sector. We have to reclaim all that has been lost over the years. And so I will be talking about how we can bring together the private sector to support this mission of reinventing the forestry sector. The presentation is actually about Africa, but when we were invited to be part of it, I just felt, yes, when we're speaking about Africa, Nigeria is a huge chunk of Africa in terms of everything. And so the idea is to convene a roundtable of African private businesses, investors, and also philanthropists to strengthen the sector, forestry sector, in terms of development on the continent. But in this context, we probably will be looking at Nigeria. And the objectives, as stated here, I don't have to read everything, but the key issue here is to raise some reasonable, substantial funds that we can invest in the forestry sector. The goal is for us to establish what we want to call a forestry trust fund, where monies can be warehoused over the years for forestry development. But the truth is that the governments cannot. It's been proved that the governments cannot on their own support forestry development. It is impracticable. And so we need to bring in the private sector by way of funding. So the purpose of this is for us to be able to address issues about our relationship, human relationship, people's relationship with the forest, forestry and economic development, sustainable forest management, issues of policy and governance. How do we build capacity? How do we have structures in place that will enable us to have a forestry sector that will address all the issues related to forest, sustainable forest management? So we are looking at this occurring in several cities, not just in one city. If we're looking at Africa as a whole, we can talk about Abuja. But if the focus is on Nigeria, such a roundtable may have to take place in different cities in different states of the country. So much has been said about the potential that the forestry sector holds, so I'm not going to bother you much about this. But the justification for us to find funding for forestry are based on about 5 issues that I'm going to talk about here. The first one is the expanding demand for forest products. Globally, there is an expanding demand for forest products. Even in our own country, we are unable to satisfy the demand for forest products. We're still importing some forest products into the country, things like matches, things like fiberboard and the likes. So there is an expanding demand globally, and Nigeria can take advantage of this demand. Even within the continent of Africa, within West Africa, there is a huge market there. So how do we take advantage of this market? We have to invest in production. This is not happening at this time. And I have statistics to show the global demand for forestry. I'm happy that the representative of the Vice President actually touched on it. A huge market in Europe, a huge market in the US, now huge market in Asia, particularly China and India. How do we take advantage of these markets? The only way we can take advantage is to invest in the sector. And it is not a short-term thing. We are looking at medium to long term, because it takes a long time for forestry products to mature for harvesting. The second reason why we have to invest in forestry, particularly through the private sector, is because of the importance of bioeconomy. Bioeconomy is becoming so important now. Everybody's talking about green economy. We're talking about blue economy. People are using wood to construct buildings, whole houses. If you go to places like Sweden, Denmark, you see whole houses, story buildings, using wood because of their environment friendliness. So bioeconomy is becoming important, and the forest sector holds the promise of ensuring that we can benefit from bioeconomy. The third one is the youth population. We have a growing youth population, and the statistics are staggering. How can we create employment for the youth? We can do that through the forestry sector. Seedling production, plantation establishment, processing and transformation of forest produce. The fourth reason is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which portends a lot of opportunities for Nigeria. Free trade agreement makes it possible for free movement of goods and services, makes it possible for increased export, makes it possible for economies of scale. How do we take advantage of this? We can do that by investing in the forestry sector. So I have been flagged off to leave the stage, and I'm not going to extend my stay here. Now, so who are the organizations we are looking at to invest in forestry? The oil and gas sector, if we can get them, the telecommunications sector, the banking and financial services sector, pulp and paper industries, the aviation and transportation sector, the construction and infrastructure sector, maritime sector, mining sector, foundations and philanthropies. This is what goes on in other parts of the world. Somebody mentioned something about Bezos Foundation this morning. These are organizations that are investing in other sectors. Why not in forestry? I imagine a situation where maybe Dangote invests just 1% of its profit after tax in forestry or in nature in a year. It will add up to be so much, and this can transform the forestry sector. And there are so many billionaires who can be involved in that. Like I said, yes, if it is Africa, we're looking at different cities in the continent. If it is going to be in Nigeria that will have such a round table, it will be in different states of the Federation. So I would like to conclude that we believe at the African Forest Forum that a business roundtable holds a great potential for eliciting the interest of key stakeholders in the above listed sectors that I have mentioned. We will give the support. The African Forest Forum will give the support. The African Union is involved in this program. The CEDA of Sweden is involved. The FAO is also showing interest. It depends on the interest of different countries. And I want to plead with the organizers of these activities, can we possibly work together to bring the private sector, to bring philanthropy together, to be able to raise substantial funds for investment in the forestry sector. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Professor Labode Popola, Executive Secretary, African Forest Forum, Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you so much, sir, for that presentation that was loaded and full of direction. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll proceed now to the first panel session for the afternoon. We have our lead speaker here, we have the moderator, and we have the panelists. So I'm going to call all of them up together. They will come up and then they will go one after the other. First of all, our lead speaker for the afternoon. The panel is going to be focused on forest finance and investment, unlocking the $2 billion opportunity. That's the focus for the panel this afternoon. Our lead speaker, once again, is a retired permanent secretary from the Federal Ministry of Education, Abuja. May we please put our hands together as I welcome Mr. Andrew David Adejo, OON. A round of applause for him. He's going to be the lead speaker for the afternoon. You're welcome, sir. Yes, sir. So you just take a seat while I call on the others, and then you come up to speak. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. The moderator for this afternoon will be the Acting Director, Planning, Policy and Coordination at the National Agency for the Great Green Wall, Dr. Innocent Alenyi. A round of applause for him. Please, can we celebrate them as they come up? They're all subject matter experts, going to be speaking from the areas, welcome, sir, the areas and wealth of experience. So he will be the moderator for the conversation this afternoon. The panelists in quick succession. First of all, can we have Mr. Philip Bankole? A round of applause for him. He's a retired director of forestry. A round of applause for him. Mr. Philip Bankole. Can we have Ms. Folake Sawalu? A round of applause for her. Ms. Folake Salawu, I beg your pardon. National Coordinator of the Green Recovery Nigeria Program. Apologies for the mix-up with the name. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Can we also have Dr. Sadiq Sani? He's the founder and CEO of NetZens Sustainability Limited. A round of applause for him as he comes up. Dr. Sadiq Sani. We also have Professor Muhammad Al-Amin. Is he here? Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you, sir. Special Advisor on Climate Change in Katsina State. You're welcome, sir. Also a subject matter expert. And do we have Dr. Tokwe Fasua here? Okay. Please, a round of applause for all our panelists, moderators. Yes, please. So I'd like to please call on the lead speaker. Yes, sir, please come up. The lead speaker now to take us on a few minutes on this conversation. After that, the moderator will drive the rest of the conversation. You're welcome, sir. Please, a final round of applause for them as we hear their thoughts on this subject matter. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, the moderator. I was hoping that when I will be called upon, I will hear very nice voice calling me upon, not that harsh male voice before. So thank you for making my dreams come true. I say good afternoon to all of us here. And I've pleaded with them. I always have that problem. They give me titles. I told them they remove the prof. I'm not a professor. I'm not a doctor. I'm just David Adejo Andrew. I've been asked to speak on, please, can I have my slides? Let me first thank these organizers for giving me the opportunity to talk to us on what all of us should ordinarily be thinking about without being prodded. We all know that Maslow hierarchy of needs, the base is air, food, water, and health. And it's the forest that can provide that. So I think it's a good thing we are looking. I'm not going into details of the benefits and all that have been expounded by all. I'm not communicating? Thank you. Sorry, I'm not connecting. Okay, thank you. Please. Well, it's coming for me too. So let me thank the organizers for this event. And to also say that I hope the people that can move decisions from the Presidential Committee on Economic and Financial Inclusion are here. Because if they are not here, we will still end up just having a talk shop and nothing will come out of it. And the fact that they've set up this forum has addressed the big problem that the forestry sector has been having over the years. And that is to say, having a convening power at the highest level of government that can make cases for forestry and let people see what forestry is talking about. And I want to say that the theme of this workshop, this summit, is the answer to a question that foresters have been asking since. And that is, last year at the Forestry Association of Nigeria Annual Conference, the theme was Forest and Trees, the New African Gold. And the question was, is Nigeria ready to take that opportunity, take advantage of that opportunity? So, and the answer is being provided by this summit. Please, can you really come and help me with this? So what I've done in this presentation, the moderator did not tell me the number of minutes I have, so I hope I don't run into the problem of somebody choking paper in my hand before I start.
So, why can't you give him the
15 minutes, sir.
15?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let me do a rush. I had
Thank you.
deliberately done this first slide to appear confusing. Ordinarily, you start in a presentation, you start with an objective before telling your story. But I put the objective at the end. The idea is that to tell us what we've been doing with the forestry sector all this while is that we've been pushing it behind when we should have started with some of the basic things that drive our lives. So I will try in this presentation to give us some idea of what we would need to do to be able to really unlock this more than $2 billion potential, because like other speakers, I believe that the potential is more than 2 billion. Let me start by saying that I've presented value statistics here based on FAO, the Forestry Outlook Survey for Africa, 2015. They said Nigeria's forest area is 7 million. Of that 7 million, 20,000 hectares is made up of primary forest located mostly Cross River, Taraba, and some spots. 420,000 hectares is made up of plantation forestry. 997,000 hectares is made up of mangrove forest, and the remaining 5.5 is non-primary forest. But I dare say that anything we want to do in this sector, like Professor Pukwola said, what is the assessment? Do we have these things? We don't. As I speak to you, I am very sure that because of unreliability and non-availability of data, nobody can tell us the status of the 1,062 forest reserves and some 38 game reserves we used to have before. Most of these things have been degraded, they've been depleted. So I'll want to hold data, statistics on forests estates in Nigeria with a very thin hand. A presentation was done today, and I had the opportunity to talk with the presenter. I said the value, the area of forested area you put there, 10.6 million, is the area I knew as a young forest officer when I was preparing for exams, and they will ask, what is the total area of forested area? This used to be approximately 10%. So that 10.6 is approximately 10% of the 923,762,000 square meters. Remember, I'm talking about 20-something years ago. So the first thing we need to do, let's know what we have. And knowing what we have will be able to give us an idea of what we can get from what we have. I'll come back to that in details later. I will just run through this. Basically, for us to all be on agreement that when we're talking forest finance and investment, we are looking at all the capital and operational expenses that has gone into conserving forests, restoring the degraded ones, and managing them sustainably. And this can come from public, private, or blended. I don't need to go into the other details here. Then, of course, forest as nature's gatekeepers. We've heard a lot about them. The next slide talks about global and Nigerian contribution to the sector. We've heard about them, so I'll just go straight to unlocking the potentials. Like I said, the first thing we need to do is to have good, credible information database. To the best of my knowledge, the last comprehensive national land use and vegetation survey that did a complete land use land cover study of Nigeria was 1988, comparing two series, published 92 or so, comparing 2 time series. Ever since, we've been having pockets of vegetation assessment. As a matter of fact, last year, the Niger Delta Development Commission, they did a land use and land cover study for the Niger Delta area. Plateau State and some states are doing pockets like that, but that will not give us what we want to be able to push our efforts to unlock this more than 2 billion potential. So I've listed the first thing we need to do because data underruns all of them. But after that, we need to stop degazetting our forest reserves. We had about 1,060-something, 62, I can't remember the exact number, forest reserves in the country. If you go to some of these reserves now, you don't recognize them. But on paper, they are there, and we are basing calculation of getting potentials from what does not exist. There are some examples where the forest reserves were de-reserved by demand, because they became hideouts for bandits, kidnappers, and all. Government was asked to please come and reserve this place for me, not to hide this. I don't want to mention names. So we should stop the gazetting. I will talk to the security of forest reserve. We inculcate a culture of tree planting, aggressive plantation. All what I've listed here is what must have been mentioned in 1 or 2 slides, so I would not want to repeat what has been said. So another thing I think we need to do, let's document and adapt past efforts. We have a rich body of knowledge existing in terms of how to sustainably manage forest reserves, forested areas. I'll give an example. A key problem in dealing with communities or forest dwellers was sustainable use of livelihood. We were lucky to be part of a project, and there were many others like that, that provided sustainable zone communities with what will help them survive their livelihood. We did that in Kainji Lake National Park, Yankari National Park, Lamibura Game and Forest Reserve, as well as Maladumba, under a foreign assisted project. We had good results, but unfortunately, all stopped when the funding for that project stopped. So that brings us to the problem of funding. For us to be able to really get these potentials too, we have to complete our process of natural capital accounting The natural capital accounting, which is a globally accepted methodology now, helps us to measure and value our ecological services. What is the value of water, forest, biodiversity, to national development, to human health, to all those beautiful things people have spoken about that the forests provide. Nigeria, luckily, we've started something on doing national accounting. The National Bureau of Statistics is leading that process. But because of funds and even understanding that something like this is happening, they will only be able to do for Nasarawa and Kaduna states. They've been able to give us, for those two states, to give us land assets, capital valuation and the cost, and some ecosystem services, but that will not go anywhere. So that is why I asked if there are people that can take authority from Prestifi here. These are the things you will really help the sector to do. If you want to know, you can't sell something to me if you don't know the value. And before you know the value, you even need to know what you have. So these are areas you can help. Empower forest guards. I want to say that this is one of the most beautiful things the president has done. But what we are seeing is that they are taking forest guards as another security outfit. And that is not what it should be. Forest guards' responsibility include you patrol the forest. And in doing that, you are trying to identify illegal activities, whether illegal logging, whether it's encroachment, whether it's whatever, forest fire. Then you report these things, you document them. Because the state forest services have lost the capacity in terms of personnel, one, and funding to sustainably manage these forest areas, they now turned into bandits, hideouts, and co. So if we now have this opportunity of creating forest guards, it is important that we first let the state tell us, these forest, some states have forest guards now. Absorb these forest guards. They already have the experience. Train them, because if we make the mistake of taking forest guards as security people to be pursuing only bandits, they will not get it. Because in some of these forest communities, the community people are the ones hiding those bandits. But because the forest guard is trained to interface with the community, to be able to talk to them, to be able to give them some level of comfort, they'll be able to open more to him, and will really make sure we're secure. So, and I think, yes, some states have done that, but those states that are yet to do, there's room for opportunity for correction. Let's make these forest guards really, it's not a campaign for it must be State Forestry Department or Forest Service or whatever, but they must be people knowledgeable in how to use the forests, how to manage them. They must be able to use forest management plans to develop how the integrity of the forest will be kept, how they will be able to identify hideouts and give the source information out. We had an experience with national parks when I was director of forestry. When there was serious problem in Kamuku, when the Kaduna State Kamuku National Park was being used, I'd have that. And we discussed, the military agreed to give weapons. But somewhere along the line, there was some confusion, and they said, okay, no, they can handle it. Unfortunately, we know how that panned out. But I think there's better collaboration between the national parks and the military authorities now, and because some of these hideouts that are hit by the bandits, kidnappers, and terrorists, like I said, forest guards or national park guards, they abandoned it because they didn't have resources to maintain the place as it should be. Financial reforms is necessary. Luckily, we've started the financial reforms in the country. A key one is the fact that we have an integrated national financing framework that was developed 2022-23. And that framework aligns with the forest sector reforms as captured in the SDGs. In combination with that, we also have the Investment and Securities Act. That was done 2025 as a backup, legal backing for the framework. What that does is that it opened the doors for investors to seek green funds and leverage other funding that is available for the forest sector. Sorry, I cannot take most of my slides but I'll just skip. I decided to put this as a special case, reforming our forest revenue system. I didn't have my glass, so I don't know how many minutes remaining. So the forest sector has a revenue system. Collect revenues for all things, timber, non-timber forest products, but these are bedeviled by a number of problems, which I have listed. Corruption in the system, non-transparent system, not paying attention to the community needs, and a whole lot of them, which I will not detail. They are in my slide, and if the Secretariat is generous enough to share it with my prose form. Now, but what we need to do to review those systems is that we need some policy and legal overhaul. We go away from stumpage rates, OTV values that are outdated. We need to look at technology monitoring. That is where funds come in. Look at stakeholder participation, especially the forest dwelling communities. We look at partnership building and capacity building of the forest officers themselves. Now, community engagement has been said, youth empowerment, private sector participation. I skipped something which is necessary, that is bringing the private sector in terms of reviving our wood industries. The case is very pathetic, but unfortunately, that's what it is. Our wood industries used to have great potentials. I go to hotels now, newly built hotels. The partitioning between two rooms are particle boards. They will just line it with very beautiful materials that have been, and they are all imported. That is an avenue for us to make some funds. And I think somewhere along the line, I spoke about creating forestry trust funds. Let me congratulate again Presifi. I read in their brochure that they have plans to set up a $20 billion, $30 billion forest accord and trust fund. The Federal Department of Forestry established a trust fund. And when I left as director, there was almost 2.5 billion there, gotten from resources that 25% of fees paid by exporters of wood and processed wood, semi-processed wood. That was supposed to be poured back into the sector. The design, which of course I had left before the implementation, the design was that funds can be used by government to do capacity building, to do sensitization, to do awareness. That fund can also be used to support the private sector to be able to make investments in forestry, because one of the problems with forest investments is that you go to a bank, nobody is willing to tie his money for 5-10 years interest, and that is where some of the financial the innovative mechanisms we are talking about come in. Before my time runs out, I need to emphasize government strategy. Well, you said 5 minutes now. Can I take one more? It is important that government synergy be taken seriously. I'll give an example. Presifi has a convening authority. Let them use that authority in bringing all the relevant players together. And they will succeed if they see themselves as coordinating and monitoring the activities of those agencies working. But by the time they now decide to start doing the implementation themselves, that is where the trouble comes. Because the traditional agencies will withdraw and let them do what they are doing. But with that convening power, that coordination, they can bring climate change, bring forestry, bring Great Green Wall, bring NESRA, bring everybody to the table. This is all what we've agreed based on your sectoral plans and strategies. On the basis of this, let us move on. Thank you. I can conclude. Conclude for me, Madam Secretary.
Thank you very much. You said he's not a professor and he's not a doctor. Ordinary Andrew Adejo. We want to thank you for these brief highlights of the things you've just spoken to us right away. Let me quickly go over to have a synopsis of what you have just presented to us. Clearly, he just said, and just with passion, we should stop what? Degassetting of the forest estate. And then he spoke a little bit with passion about documenting past efforts and especially studies undertaken for realistic and reliable data, because most of the data we've seen are just conflicting with what we have on ground. Then he talked about empowering the forest guards. The roles should be finally defined and responsibilities really shown. And you also talked that forest is a natural resource. And because of this, all the studies needed to be done, because we said, well, Nigeria is, forestry is contributing to 0.9% of the GDP. How right is it? Conclude the word, the natural accounting processes, so that we'll be able to attract green investments. And then he looked at the financial reforms that has led to the Federal Department of Forestry to have also put in place the Forestry Trust Fund, and which also goes along with carbon monetization. He concluded looking at the policy and legal reforms, and then he said what are going to be the enabling environment, and he said, he talked about engagements of the communities where these forests are, and also the youth to be involved. And then we talked about the private sector participation in order to unlock this great resource we're talking about. Then as he spoke all of this, he brought the synergy of government together, where what now? The pre-C fee would need to put together all these government structures and agencies, departments, to be able to put some synergy to make it go on. Without much ado, we want to quickly go now to this process of the panel. And the panel, as we've rightly said, we're talking about forest finance and investment, unlocking this thing we're talking about, billions. Today, billion is not anything you can mention, but then how do we go over? And in the next 5 years, by 2030, we should be able to have a trillion billion economy, but from the forestry sector. But if we have this ambitious aim, what are the things we need to do so that we'll be able to harness these things and go forward? I have some panelists here. They will be doing justice to some questions I will be posing to them. And then please listen attentively as they'll be addressing this pertinent thing for us to unlock the $2 billion as an opportunity we're going to have, and so that we would need to get this right. A lot of things is not, when you talk forest, you say it's tree, timber, and all of that. There are a lot of things in the forest estate and in the forest, in the reserve, that will yield much money than even the timber, the non-timber forest product or the non-wood forest product. So without wasting time, I would like to pose my first question to Mr. Philip Bankole. Should I be?
Yes.
I think it's not better.
No. If you're not present on the panel. Yes, but stand up.
Thank you.
Seated, yes.
Right, okay, he said I should be seated, but I told him I'm a teacher, so.
Please be seated. Thank you. Then we'll just do three.
Thank you very much. I think, thank you, the ceremony. So, Mr. Philip, having seen or heard the overview or the lead presentation given by David Adejo, I'd like to ask this question. How can forest finance align with Nigerians' aspiration? The aspiration is that annually we should be able to have unlock about 2 billion US dollars so that we become so blossomed economy, and that by year 2030 we have about $1 trillion economy. Can you just put some idea towards this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And a layman's question is like asking, how will you convince me to invest in forestry? And what are the strategies? First is in the area of sustainable forest management. Sustainable forest management, investment in sustainable forest management will enable us to maintain the capacity of the forest to keep providing us with the materials and resources that we need for our economic development, like wood industry and other non-wood industries. When you continue to receive this in sustained and on a perpetuated, continuous process, then the supply of these materials to the industries will be a continuous process. And when you have industrial activities, economic factor is being generated. The second area is investment in carbon credits. When you have your forest maintained and is contributing to carbon sequestration, you can take it to you can attract funding from outside, from the international market, that will contribute to your own development. Another area is capacity building for community who are the primary custodian of this forest, and they depend on the resources from the forest. You invest in capacity building for them. That gives them the advantage of being able to manage the forest effectively so that they can still continue to have their livelihood in the forest and be productive, and also still contributing to economic development. The third area is agroforestry. That is the integration of tree planting into our agricultural system, whereby apart from harvesting your crops, you also have wood products. And because you have this tree integration, your soil quality is improved. You reduce the tendency of soil degradation. And because the soil fertility is improved, you also have increased in food production, therefore helping you to address the issue of food security, and which is also a great contribution to the economy. Then we talk of ecotourism. That is, you see what they say that not just timber alone. Ecotourism, when it can be promoted, that people can see other advantages of forest, presence of forest, whereby you can go in for relaxation and enjoy the beauty of nature. All this to contribute to, like we have the national parks, you have visitors, they are generating a lot of resources. So if you can maintain our forest in that way, then you are contributing to development. One other area is the application, promotion, funding for technology and innovation. This will help you to know what is happening in our forest, to know the health of our forest, to gather adequate data, and then with that, you can make informed decisions that will help you for effective management, so that the forest will become more productive and more accessible, for economic development. Then, policy and regulation frameworks. We also need to invest in updating our policies. Some of the legal instruments are outdated, but we can update them so that they match the current situation, then they will be more applicable to sustainable management that will make our forests more productive. Then, general awareness for people, training, to give people more awareness, equip them with more capabilities. All this will shape our thinking, and there will be greater cooperative among stakeholders, whereby we can all work towards sustainable management of our forest for better production and sustaining the system of our production in the community and in the society. Of all this, if we can integrate all this, then definitely we will see the benefit of investing in forest activities so that we can enjoy the continuous supply of both tangible and intangible benefits of our forest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we put a hand of applause for him? Because you see, along the sides, I've been having some papers. So I would want to say that they have a lot, but because of constraint of time, so that we'll be able to cover much, each of the panelists will be having 3 minutes to speak, and so that you can just actually have the people time. And because we have by 2:45, we should be up. Now, I'd like to have the second question. Dr. Sadiq Sani, we know you've been doing a lot of things in NetZen, or is it NetZen?
Yeah, NetZens.
NetZens.
Yeah.
So please, can you just give us an overview and kind of proffer some possible high-value forest investment opportunities in Nigeria that should accelerate significant revenue streams of the targeted $2 billion by the year 2030. Every year, annually, when you see we're talking about $2 billion, is annually. The aggregate, the cumulative, by 5 years' time in 2030 will be 1 trillion economy. That's the pursuit, that's the goal. And so please, can you just give us some possible high-level forest investment opportunities that are available in Nigeria, and how would they accelerate significant revenue streams of this target we're looking at?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'll start with saying what we have done at NetZens, and then go into looking at the future opportunities in terms of what could be invested in this sector. So at NetZens, what we have done is, alongside with our partners in terms of the United Nations, we also have organizations like SEA for All, we have the federal government of Nigeria, we have Accela, we have Mainstream, we have Environmental Health Council of Nigeria, and many organizations, coming together, investing heavily in terms of emerging technologies. So NetZens, we have patented blockchain technologies in terms of US patent, Australian patent, and Nigerian patent as well. So what we have done with this technology is to actually build a data solution whereby you could look into carbon emission, carbon equivalent, entire GHG emission. And this emission actually have huge impact in our forests. And furthermore as well is we have invested into technologies like artificial intelligence, we've invested into machine learning models, we've invested into building similar kinds of hardware, which I'm holding currently now, to actually track emission in real time, tell you the amount of emission you have in every facility, and not just doing that. When we monitor emitter, we try to also analyze the emission. We have also, on the other side, investment into local companies that actually do verifications as well. And then we also have investment into being able to realize the carbon credit and also the monetary value of the carbon credit itself. And all these were done collectively, investing heavily across our partners, our collaborators, to see how we can, for the first time in the entire world, where the GHG emission could be tracked across the forest, and then you can also realize the carbon credit, for that. So this is what we have done at NetZens, and then currently, both in Nigeria, we're doing it in Nigeria, we're doing it in Ghana, we're doing it in Texas in the US, and then currently we're also moving into South Africa, Kenya, Uganda, and also Sydney and in Australia as well. So this is what we have done in terms of investing into emerging technologies, whereby we now have technologies. We don't have to look outside of the country. We have a technology in NetZens that where we can actually monitor, track, and then go across the entire carbon or GHG ecosystem to tell us how we can realize the over $2 billion yearly coming from our forests in terms of, we can tell you how much the trees are sinking, how much are they really taking in, how much are they actually emitting across the entire forest. And this will also provide a much more better informed decision into understanding the impact of health to our farmers, to have everyone, our forest guard and all of that, so that we understand the communities as well. What impact is the emission having? And that cut across into having to understand your environmental, impact, to understand your societal impact, and also the knowledge, which at NetZens, we've invested heavily in training a lot of staff in the federal government, aircon, sanitarians, which have been trained heavily to understand how to use our devices and how to go into the field. This is what we have done. So what are we looking at doing from what we have done? We are now investing heavily into building models in which we can tell you the amount of composition in terms of also how you can decompose to understand this is the nth amount of emission or this is the nth amount of health impact coming from this particular area of the forest. And that way it doesn't have to actually go into the other areas of the forest as well. And then we're also investing into building the different kinds of models across, having the metaverse solutions in which you can have, solutions where you can look into to understand what happens in the future as well. So I would say overall, there are a lot of opportunities in terms of investing into people and technologies in the emerging tech space. And that is why in NetZens, the number of females we have working in terms of technologies are a lot. And then we continue to invest into both females, males, to see how we can collectively improve the value on how we can realize the over $2 billion from our Nigerian forests. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Shall we just let's appreciate him for these great things he's just actually unfolding onto us, for us to be able to unlock the $2 billion as a stream or whatever training that we could be able to get. Now, the time is not just on our side. Please, I would like the panelists to religiously maybe stick to these 4 minutes or 5 minutes or 4.5 minutes, as the case may be, to respond to these wonderful questions. Well, I think I am right, because putting it at the middle is great. We'll be talking to a special advisor on economic affairs, and that's Mr. Fasua Tope. Please, with all that we have just said, the challenge from Border Commission agency have just told us a lot of things from all this representation. What financial instruments, such as the Nigerian sovereign green bonds, the carbon credits and market, climate funds are available? When I say available in Nigeria, on which can be easily accessed and deployed to unlock forest investments. Just 4 minutes, can you?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you to the Presifi for the invite. Thank you very much. To answer your question directly, I think it's been said earlier on in that very great presentation by the Border Commission, the availability or the possibility indeed of issuing the first green bond. As a matter of fact, I think there's one out that had been done some time back. Sometimes you wonder whether why we haven't actually piggybacked on that and actually expanded. Because these days in the area of finance, one of the focus is the green economy, and green bonds, blue bonds that target marine and what have you. We're having all those specializations now, where global financiers have packed money, even to explore some areas of Islamic finance. The way I categorize finance, there's the ones coming from the West, mostly if you talk about the Bretton Woods institutions and you talk about other Western kind of finance, including some that are focused on the climate and so on. Then there's the finance coming from the East, largely China and Japan. Then there's the Islamic finance. My perspective in terms of financing is that wherever we can get the money from, let's get it. So long as it can be used very optimally to achieve the results that we want. However, my key focus coming here today was the fact that I like the fact that financial inclusion is now pivoting more into economic inclusion. I'm an economist and I'm very much concerned beyond finance. Finance is only an aspect of economics. I've seen a scenario where we've actually focused a lot on how do we finance things, where do we get the money. Sometimes you're sitting on resources that you don't even know the value of what you're sitting on. For example, our human capital in Nigeria is the most important resource we have. And I've been pushing within government that, look, we need to actually extract as much value as we can by bringing the youth closer, encouraging them, mobilizing them to achieve the things that we need to achieve. And of course, when you talk about sustainability, it reminds me of a certain Native American saying that we did not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We're actually borrowing the earth from our children and the children yet unborn, which tells you that how responsible we must be. And so this is where the forest economy comes in. I'll quickly say this so as not to waste people's time. Yesterday when I was thinking around this, it occurred to me. The last time I was in Rwanda and Uganda, I realized that they have a very robust tourism sector in those two countries, and there's what they call the Gorilla Trail. In the Gorilla Trail, Rwanda made over $200 million from the Gorilla Trail alone in 2024. And so I'm asking myself, why is the whole of Nigeria thinking about $2 billion for the entire sector? I'm talking about, that is just one aspect. People going into Rwanda to go and look at the Gorilla Trail. We also have them in Cross River, in Obudu area, in the Taraba, in the hills, and so on. We seem to be doing very little in terms of our tourism, but without indicting the minister in charge, who's actually trying to bring in a lot more value into that sector. So I would probably say, I'm not a small thinker. When you're thinking about something like this, 2 billion is too low, if you ask me. Because if you don't shoot very high, they say those who aim for the skies sometimes find themselves among the stars. If you don't aim high, you're going to also achieve mediocre results. Permit me to do one little experiment. How many people are married in this place, please? By show of hands. Married. Show of hands. Okay. Married? Almost the whole hall. Now, one more question. How many people have more children than their parents, than their fathers? 1, 2, more children than your father. Usually 3. Usually, every time I ask this question, I get the same kind of results in a large hall like this. Let's say about 2 to 3% of us have more children than our parents. Therefore, we are not replacing our population as quickly as we should. Or otherwise, saying that Nigeria's population will fall in another 2 generations. And this is contrary to what we hear about Nigeria's population is going to balloon everywhere. We may not be around by the time it happens, but from the fact that we're not replacing our population as quickly as we should, and that perhaps our children will have even less children than we will, because school fees and other things are catching up, including what they call modernity these days. Nigeria's population will fall. The reason I'm saying this is because we need to have what they call data sovereignty. We have farmed out our data for too long to all sorts of bodies around the world. We need to invest in our own data and own our own data. And this also pertains to whether you're talking about forestry data, how much of what we have, we need to have a handle on that. So basically, that's my point. And I think that we should reinvest in the tourism aspect of this. And I think that, of course, the $1 trillion economic challenge is up. I just got information now that hopefully the rebased GDP will be out later today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. Now, quickly, because if you don't have anything, you say this is not a gender sensitive. We are talking about inclusion. So we have Ms. Folake Salau. Being a private individual, we want you to say this. How do we unlock this great investment? Now, the question I want to put across that you want to give just within 3 minutes now, how can the private sector and international climate actors be sustainably attracted to invest in Nigerian forest sector?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. So in the introduction, I lead what we call the Green Recovery Nigerian Program. I work with the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, and the Green Recovery Nigeria Program is a program designed by NCF to facilitate the restoration of the forest in Nigeria to 25% of the total land mass by 2047. The initiative was launched in 2017, and as at the end of last year, we've planted about 3 million trees in the Nigerian Conservation Foundation. So coming back to how do we fund, how do we achieve the target of the $2 billion for the forest economy? Oftentimes, we always believe we don't have the fund, and we have to go look for the fund, whereas the Climate Change Act already made provisions for the private sector to provide support for mitigation, which includes afforestation. And under the Climate Change Act, any organization, any corporate organization in Nigeria that has more than 50 employees are, by law, supposed to provide a carbon offset report on an annual basis and provide evidence of their carbon offset, how they offset their carbon footprint. And for my program, which is the Green Recovery Nigeria, 90% of our funds comes from the private sector. So what do? We partner with the private sector, oil and gas, banking sector, and they come to us, we want to offset our carbon footprint. Can NCF facilitate tree planting projects for us? And then we collaborate with them. They fund the tree planting project, and then we collaborate with states and national park services, as the case may be, and then we do this tree planting. So the private sector, I believe, is one area where the Nigerian government can partner with, and they can fund most of this $2 billion for the oil and gas sector. They can do it conveniently. All you need to do is, they want transparency. They want accountability. If I give you money to plant 100,000 trees, they want to be sure you plant the 100,000 trees. And at the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, we also be in partnership with Chevron Nigeria for the past 40 years. They supported the regeneration of what we call the only standing urban forest in Lagos State. It's called the Lekki Conservation Center. It's managed by the Nigerian Conservation Foundation. The Lekki Conservation Center was in partnership, it has been funded by Chevron for the past 40 years. It's a regeneration of a fully degraded forest.
Please, you can just round up.
Okay, so I'm saying that partnership between the private sector provides opportunity. And then the Lekki Conservation Center presently is self-sustaining from ecotourism. People come in, they pay as much as 6,000 naira just to come inside the forest. Within 30 minutes, 1 hour, they are out, and we make a lot of money. So there is opportunity in ecotourism, there is opportunity in partnering with the private sector, and there is opportunity in partnering with other stakeholders. We can look inward instead before we look outward, where we look at carbon credit. But for carbon credits, there are a lot of criteria, verification, but oftentimes the low-hanging fruit is what we have in-house, which is partnership with the private sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Look inward before you look outward. Now, quickly, we have Professor Mohammed Al-Amin. He's the Special Advisor on Climate Change, Katsina State. And this time, all inclusiveness, we're talking an impact. Please, Professor, how can forest finance be structured to directly benefit women, youth, and the local communities? 2 minutes, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. First, let me start by congratulating the organizers of this event for the time and the focus for this event. I have 2 points to raise here. The first is a good news, and the second one is a bad news for Nigeria. The good news is internationally, there is 370 billion US dollars in multilateral climate funding for forest development and forest financing. And in the corporate world globally, there is over 780 billion USD for forest financing, forest development, and carbon trading. Now, these are huge resources that Nigeria can tap in to ensure that these 2 billion US dollars that we are looking for actually comes into the country and benefit Nigerians, particularly the most vulnerable parts of the society. Now, the bad news is that let us look at our resources. Nigeria is one of the highest in terms of depletion of the primary forest resources in the world. This is not encouraging for investors, and we have to do something on it if at all we want to drive investment towards forest and forest benefits. Secondly, we have large land masses that we call forests. But are they really forests? Because we have to look at the assets of what is forest, the biodiversity, the land quality, as well as the lithosphere there. We need to look at the water resources in the forest system and see its quality now. These are things that we need to improve and ensure that we can use the forest resources to derive the investment that is needed. Now, inclusion in the investment drive for forest development is really very important. And let me share the success story of my state, Katsina State, and what the state has done, which could be a model for subnational agencies to adopt. Recently, the state government launched its blueprint that is called Katsina State Green Growth Agenda. The Green Growth Agenda specifically indicated ways in which the most vulnerable, that are women and youths, that will benefit, that had to be involved in the drive towards opening up the resources that are involved in the forest and forest sector. And first of it is the policy that the state government adopted of ensuring that all the activities that are to be done in terms of forest development and forest businesses are actually women and youth centered. And secondly is the provision of financial resources and technical aids in terms of capacity building and other resources that are deployed to these 2 vulnerable groups. So it is really very important that we focus on this group and ensure that the resources that are there globally are actually channeled into the country and channeled through the agency of these 2 most vulnerable groups so that we can tap the needed resources and ensure that the target of Mr. President for $1 trillion economy is achieved soonest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. 2 scenarios. But then, as we round up just within, I think, can you give me 60 minutes? 3 minutes.
No.
Would want, he said, Andrew Adejo. He would want to talk to us about what we're going to do now on what policy reforms. He spoke about some policies reforms and institutional frameworks. And I want to say, what are those policy and institutional frameworks that exist in order to de-risk the forest sector investment in Nigeria? 3 minutes, please. Thank you.
My time has not started, so. Well, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think first thing, basically, if you are looking at de-risking the forest sector for investments, you are looking at how do you create investor confidence to be able to put their money into investments in forestry activities. So you want to see that you have policy frameworks that are integrated, you have institutions that are strong and transparent, you have effective legal framework, the laws are in place, they are enforced. And because you are looking at investment, you have to look at the market-based instruments you have in terms of their levels of certification and in what is available. Similarly, you look at the international support system that binds the country to the international community in terms of what plays out in the forestry sector. I think at the institutional level, Nigeria is doing well. We have, policy level, we have a National Forest Policy 2019 that emphasizes sustainable forest management, and it has given private sector participation a good opportunity, enabling ground to operate because it has clear land tenure. It tried to make the land tenure used better in terms of within the constraint placed by the Land Use Act. It also provided some economic and social incentives. It gave 3 ownership rights, and most importantly, there was a benefit sharing ratio for the communities to benefit from. You also have policies in desertification, national climate change policy, across the sector. So we have the policies. In terms of institutions, the key problem we are having is that the forest is managed at the state level, and the state forestry services do not have the resources or the capacity to continue. And that's why I keep saying this forest guard provides the opportunity for federal to give the state the support needed to be able to manage their forests. So I think that is where Presifi will help. If we really want to get this potential, if the state forestry services, if the forest guards are just seen as security guards, we are not seeing this potential because they will help in building plantations of hemp and everything within the forest resource, which is what we have and we're identifying before. So for that, in terms of market-based instruments, we have Nigeria, this year we did our 3rd series of green bond, the first, second series, and the 3rd series, so those market instruments are there. We also have carbon credits. Cross River State, there was a Red Cross program that was able to gain some carbon credits from it. So when we now look at the synergy, because how do these people work is important too. And in terms of international support systems, we do have international support systems. That's why the UN System for Environmental Economic Accounting is supporting the NBS in developing our natural capital accounting. And I think the Presifi also should try and see how they can provide support to expand that to cover the country. And with their initiatives, they can either use the wealth accounting and value of ecosystem, or they can use the national capital accounting and value ecosystem initiative. Thank you. No Nakam again.
Thank you very much. Already you see he has taken his stand so that we can give opportunities for the other panelists to come forward. I want to thank you, all the panelists, for this good job you've done. Thank you very much.
Would we have the photographers in the house? I'd just like the panel to step forward. Let's have the up. Please, let's have the photographer, Dr. Zoro. Please do join the team quickly. Let's have the photo up with the panel. Yes. Thank you very much. Please. Yes, I'm going to now lock it up. Distinguished guests, it's a very difficult situation At this point, let me just put it into context for you to know the dilemma we found ourselves, but for good cause. We've been sharing and espousing knowledge about how to unlock the opportunities that abound in our forest. Please just fit in, TA, so that we quickly are done with that. Please, let's fit in. At this time, we are supposed to be commencing the fourth panel conversation, but you see, we just ended the first. Now I'm going to be proposing some very drastic, if you like, solutions that we will need so that we don't lose thoughts of everybody who has come here to offer. We do have the next panel, which is a leadership dialogue session, well, of subnational collaboration synergies. I was very happy when I saw Dr. Kelly on the board, because Dr. Kelly has delivered a magnus opus already on this subject. So it means it's just to pick. Thank you very much. Please, let's make way. Dr. Zauro and Dr. Fashwa, I'd like to thank you very much. Please let me quickly bring on board the others. And can I please confirm that Honorable George Echi is also in the house? Dr. Echi, yes, sir. Thank you. Dr. Afolabi Abiodun is in the house. Dr. Afolabi Abiodun, can I confirm that we do have him in the house? Well, maybe not. Hussaini Haruna, I know from Money Point, I saw earlier. And then Architect Modakeke Okurimboe. Is the architect also in the house? All right. But surely Mr. Shina Ayotola is supposed to be our panel moderator. Can I confirm that he's in the house? Shina Ayotola, oh, you are there in the house. So please, Mr. Moderator, I need you on this start. Please do come forward. Do come forward, please. And again, I crave the indulgence of all the panelists. This is by no means belittling the value contributions you would have made. At this point, we should be wrapping up the fourth conversation. It's a long day, you know, about attention span and all of that. So what I'm just going to appeal, we would like to take the next step. Please do step forward, sir. Do step forward. The time has started running, moderator. So, moderator, this is my proposition. We will dispense with the pleasantries, dispense, unfortunately, with the introductions. They are subject matter experts. You have done your discussions. Unfortunately, we are altering these. We will just, if we could take from each of the panelists in 2 minutes, next steps. When we do that next steps, we aggregate and then we'll just take the next panel. Please, so I'm going to please invite your panel to join. Please be seated, sir. Dr. George Kelly, thank you very much, still being in the house. Everybody should have a page to find. You see, even the VP said, look, that it's a model, template. Right Honorable George Oben Echi, PhD, Commissioner, Cross River State Forestry Commission. Please, let's have him. Dr. Afolabi Abiodun, Forestry Association of Nigeria. Let's have him. Hussaini Haruna. Where is Hussaini? I thought I saw Hussaini earlier. Yes, Hussaini, please do come into the... And Architect Modakeke Okurimboye. Yes, please. So we're just going to, unfortunately, we know there's a lot you could have shared with us. But we're just going to take your next step thoughts, and we would appreciate that so much. Mr. Shina Ayotola, Chief Programs Officer, Nigeria Governors Forum Secretariat. Your time starts now. You. Oh, very well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. All protocols observed. My name is Shina, Chief Programs Officer at the Nigeria Governors Forum. And again, please can we just put our hands together for this amazing group of panelists. I think the ground rules have been set. We're pressed for time. We can just go straight into the conversation. It's been an exciting conversation since the beginning of today. My first question will be to Dr. George. Specifically, and in 2 minutes, I'd like you to share, in what ways states and local governments, how can they foster collaboration to attract and effectively deploy financing for sustainable forest management. I mean, you could just speak about that briefly.
It's just like I did mention before, and just like previous speakers already stated here, we need the collaboration of subnationals, for us to succeed in unlocking these potentials. We need the local governments to be on board. We need the state governments to be on board, especially in setting up the forest guards that has been severally emphasized there. That does many things for us. One, it creates employment for the youths in the rural areas. Two, it helps us create watchdogs, for our forests. And so we need, I think going forward from here, we need to start setting up all those kind of collaborations, interagency collaborations, getting the state governments and the local governments on board. That is the next step we should be looking at.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for him. Thank you very much for that. So I'll just go to architect Moradeke. I mean, you're the only lady on the panel, so it's just right that I should, start with you, or come to you. How do you think Nigeria can move towards comprehensively valuing its forest capital, right? And then how do we integrate these valuations into subnational and national economic decision making processes in an accurate way?
All right. Thank you very much. Basically, I think, first of all, we need to define what the value is. And most cases, when anybody wants to invest in anything, they would like to know, what is the quantum of this thing I want to invest into? So obviously, as has been said before, we need to strengthen our database. I think that's one of the things that we need to do. We also need to look at the issues of security, because I haven't heard anything said about that, but I think this is one of the things that the people who want to invest will be thinking about. How secure would my funds be? And of course, I believe that we need to streamline all of the information that we get from databases, either at the national or subnational levels, into, existing policies. We can, find out what that means to our GDPs, and stuff like that. I think these are some of the things that we really need to do at this point in time, so that people we can also even value what we have, and then others who would like to invest can value more. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you focus on data and then the issue of security also.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Right, Honorable George. I mean, you sit right in the middle of this conversation because you're from Cross River. So my question is to you: what are the most promising high-value forest products and ecosystem services in Nigeria, and how can their production, processing, and market access be scaled up? How can we do this through subnational initiatives? If you want to also share about your example with Cross River, that's what Right Honorable George. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. There are very many, actually. Each time we talk about forest, people think that we're talking about, the first thing that comes to mind is timber.
Yeah.
But even looking at timber itself, one of the challenges that we have as a nation has always been, for those who deal with timber and process it, where to dispose, the dust. But I can tell you that the dust itself is a revenue generator in terms of, fuel that it can, provide. Louisiana is one country that, as we speak, is one state in the U.S. as we speak today that has high need, for sawdust that comes from the wood. Of course, again, we have a lot of medicinal plants in our forests. I remember that some years back, working with the World Wide Fund for Nature, WWF UK, the Butaton Forest was one of those forests where researchers came to get plants to process for the cure of HIV. And that, was something that really touched, so many people, because, those are information that people did not know. And someone talked earlier about ecotourism. Cross River State, for instance, is one of those states that has, ecotourism sites where people come and pay money to go into the forest and look at, nature. The Afi Mountain, which Dr. George talked about earlier, is a place where we have, it's a sanctuary. It's a sanctuary where you have gorillas, a very rare species of gorilla in that area in Boki local government of Cross River State. Beyond that, the world is going bamboo. Many people think that, when you talk about furniture, you're talking about wood. But China today is investing so much in planting bamboo. Why? Because they want to move from the wood to using bamboo to make furniture. And these are things that, we have in abundance in our nation. And of course, like the traditional ruler said earlier, these things are actually resident in the localities. Yeah. And there's no development that you bring or investment that you do around any of these, kind of things that will not bring, growth and resources to the community. So all we need to do is to continue to make budgets and make, funds available to enable us invest in this sector, and then, we'll be able to scale up.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that insight. I mean, the same question to Dr. Afolabi. I mean, we're talking earlier, and you sit right in the middle of, the forest sector in Lagos State. So I'll ask you the same question. What are those high-value, forest products and ecosystem services in Nigeria that you think, we need to harness more or possibly scale up as a nation?
Thank you very much. He has said it. Timber. But everybody think timber is the in thing. It is. But it could be diversified. We have timber, then we have what we call non-forest timber products. When you talk about timbers, you're talking about mahogany, iroko, obeshe, teak, melina, and what have you. But you talk about the non-timber forest product, that is where you get your resins, the dyes, and these small products that you can get from forest. But all along, as I sat in this ballroom, I didn't see people talking about mangrove. Yeah, mangrove is very key. Ask me why. Well, I'm from Lagos, and I want to tell you that in Lagos, virtually all the forests in Lagos have been depleted. So what we are now banking on is the swamp, the mangrove. And in Lagos, we have these mangrove trees called Rhizophora racemosa. All right. The hardwood is an hardwood, and it is good for furniture. It is good for roofing. If you use racemosa, there are two types, the white one and the red one. You see, the red one, if you use it for your house, the house will live for years. You will still live it for your great-grandchildren. It will not, get rusted. This is one of those things we can tap into. We're talking about 2 billion. 2 billion is only for the trees, for timbers. What about the wetlands? Where do you put them? Are they not part of the trees? So we need to harness these two. And you see, what we can do to upscale this.
Yeah, Doc, just very briefly so that we can round.
To upscale this
Yes.
is sustainability.
Okay.
The sustainability of the forest and the certification. If you can sustain your forest and you get your certification, it helps you, it helps the marketers, the buyer, to have confidence in you, and it helps the market to go up. Then technology is very key. Somebody came here and talked about technology, the use of drones, AI, inventories, research and development.
Yeah.
They are very key to help us if we want to unlock this. And if we don't do that, we might not be able to. But I tell you, somebody said, look, this 2 billion is
Just
small. Harnessing wetlands alone, you can get over this. All right, Lagos is surrounded by water. We don't have trees, but I tell you, all logs in Nigeria comes to Lagos State, and that is where we make our money. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Doctor. So, Mr. Hussaini, I'll just ask you finally, how can existing financial inclusion programs in Nigeria be adapted or expanded to specifically meet the unique financial needs of forest-dependent communities and small-scale forest enterprises? I'd like to hear your own experience with that.
Thank you very much. Currently in Nigeria, we have existing financial inclusion strategies which are working effectively. Like if we can see the recorded numbers that we have at the initial stage, before we found out that adults, Nigerians are financially excluded, more than 55% of adult Nigerians. And this brings about establishing ways whereby people that don't have access to financial services will bring into these financial services, which is why we call it financial inclusion. And today, these services are actively working, especially in the cities, and now we are looking about the rural communities, whereby they have lack of these financial services, because most of these financial services are coming from the bank, deposit money banks, or mobile money operators, and what have you. And that is why if we cannot be able to build banks in all localities, because we know we have to make heavy investment and what have you, so we need to introduce models like the agency banking and mobile money in these localities, whereby this agent will serve as third party to these banks or financial institutions, and also capacity building and financial literacy to these communities. People in these communities don't know about investments, don't know about loans, and also they need to build trust for these people in these rural communities, especially the forest market that we are talking about. So if we can be able to boost their morale and confidence that financial services or these financial institutions are workable and they are there not to harm their business or funds. Their funds are intact. Maybe if they have savings in the banks, if they have investment from the banks or the government, they are intact, and at the end of the day, it will increase their potentials in their businesses. So also, it will mitigate the issues of insecurity that we may have in these communities, because most of these rural people harvest, you understand, and maybe try to market their products to the next level. And at the end of the day, we have issues with regards to insecurity. Maybe they have to find safe to save in their box, or find money to dig at in their backyard, for example. Or maybe they sell their products from the farmland to the market. On returning back home, they may have issues of, let's say, kidnapping or robbery and what have you. Financial institution or financial inclusion that we are talking about will mitigate all those sorts of issues. And also, it will reduce the burden the government needs to invest heavily in printing bankable notes, and also transporting these notes from those communities to the banks or to the cities and what have you. So if we can be able to focus on these areas, I think we can be able to have more secured environment, and people that are in the rural communities will queue into the financial sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this session. Please, a round of applause for this amazing panel. I'm sure the conversation has just started, and we can always take advantage of the team that's here. Thank you very much once again.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to thank you very much. Please, let's have the group photo session. It's such a shame that we are pressed for time. I see a quantum, a wealth of knowledge being shared here, but like he said, the conversation has only just started. Please, let's have the photo. Doc, please, Dujon, I was watching out for you. Please, let's have it. Let's have this. Thank you very much. Fantastic moderation. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you very much. You were still able to extract what we needed to know from this eminent panel in the very little time we had. And that it's the model we are going to be riding on as we quickly move on to the third panel, promoting non-oil exports through a sustainable value chain in Nigeria with the private sector as a catalyst, showcasing scalable private market-driven models. And Mr. Tunde Shobowale, do I have my moderator in the house, Mr. Tunde Shobowale? Is that the moderator? Yes, that's my moderator coming. Mr. Tunde, I envy you. I like to come after those who have established the model. It's a difficult one, but I am so pleased that it's UCU Africa Food Importer Association USA. Abubakar Shehu, please be seated, sir. You are the moderator. Abubakar Shehu Kolere, Director Chemicals and Pharmaceutical Materials, RMRDC, representing the DG. Mrs. Uche Uzoebo, MD Shared Sanef. Do we have the MD Sanef here? I haven't seen Uche all day. Then we will move on to Professor Innocent Bariko, DG Nesria. Do we have the DG Nesria? Representing the DG Nesria, and Dr. Noura Bello, Zonal Vice President NASMI. Do we have Dr. Noura Bello? Dr. Noura Bello is here. Okay, and finally, Ms. Judah Toka. I hope I got that right. Strategic Director, African Food Importer Association. Yes, sir. So, Mr. Moderator, please let me quickly state before I go over to the moderator, International Forestry Students Association, I do acknowledge your presence. You can see the dilemma, but we acknowledge the fact that you are here. It's important you are here. You are part of the conversation. You are following it. You now know what you need to do. I saw earlier a delegation from the Youth Parliament of Nigeria. It's also very important. I'm pleased that we're having the younger ones be a part of this discussion. So, Mr. Moderator, sir, with the existing model, unfortunately because of time, we're just going to ask you to extract the next steps from them so that we can take the panel. But I know there is a lot they would love to share, but we will just ride on that template, on our understanding, so that we can make progress and all be here. Thank you very much. Over to you, sir. 2 minutes each, I forgot to add, for each of the speakers. 1 round of questions. Thank you. Oh, I thought, okay, sir. Hey, check, sound. Yes, thank you very much. Hello. Please confirm it's working.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for waiting behind to have this conversation. God bless you all. So we're going to jump quickly into it, though we have a lot to share, but because of time. But we're still going to do justice as we can. All right, so my first question will go to Mr. Noura Bello. And you are the Zonal Vice President of the Nigeria Association of Small and Medium Enterprise, an institution central to MSME development and grassroots enterprise support. And my question to you would be, how can financial inclusion initiatives, particularly digital financial services, cooperative financing, and macro enterprise support, be effectively leveraged to empower forest-dependent community, which is very dear to my heart, and ensure women and youth are equitable, included, and economically uplifted through Nigeria's sustainable forest product value chain. And when we talk about those product value chains, we're talking about, just like other panelists mentioned, like Babu, Shea Butter, and the likes. So, up to you.
All right. Good afternoon to you all. I think in NASMI, that's Nigeria Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, as private sector, we have actually done well in terms of financial inclusion. What we did with those entrepreneurs that are operating in the forest, we clustered them, and at the same time, we created cooperatives. And then we helped them with finance. Currently, we have signed an MOU with Bank of Industry, where they are going to have up to 5 million, as small businesses that are within the scope of micro, small, and medium enterprises. They can get these loans without collateral, with just one guarantor, and they can pay within 3 years. If you look at in forestry, the business, if we are looking at the value chain, is actually big. From the farmers to the processors and then to the final businesses that process those products. For example, if you look at moringa, moringa is grown in some of these forests, or what do you call it, tamarind, that is actually processed into juice, and moringa is also processed into food, and at the same time is also processed into tea. So what our MSMEs are doing is they process some of these products, or they call it economic trees, that are produced in the forest, and at the end of the day, those trees that are produced for economic purposes are actually used as raw materials for the industries that we have. So we have actually supported small and medium enterprises with financial inclusion through the loans that we give them, and at the same time we train them on how to use the platforms like MoneyPoint, and then how to use their wallet, how to use USSD command, and these are the basic things that we have done. But above that, we also do advocacy in which we try to see how government can create policies. Like currently, we are looking at Forest MSME Empowerment Initiative that we want to partner with the technical advisor in terms of creating a program that would be tailored towards MSMEs that is called Forestry MSME Empowerment Initiative. But the flip side is that if this forest, we actually don't make use of it, the bad guys are going to take over. And as we can see, some of these forests like Beningwari, Sambisa, they have already been taken over. And it's difficult to get these people out. But if you can support our MSMEs through this active collaboration by creating policies and programs that will support them, and then create incentives by incentivizing those people that want to operate in the SMEs, I think it will go a long way. And these are community-based programs, so their means of livelihood in those communities in the rural areas are dependent on that. And once they do not have such kind of support, at the end of the day, it's going to be a problem, and it can lead to insecurity, as you can see. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know it's very important to unlock the international market for these communities. Going through these trainings, unlocking this market is very important. So I'm going to direct the question to Ms. Judah Tucker, the Strategic Director, African Food Import Association, USA. And my question to you would be, as a global market increasingly prioritize natural and sustainable source products, how can your association collaborate with Nigerian stakeholders to unlock investment, improve market access, and ensure responsible sourcing across forest-based and non-forest-based products, such as shea butter, gum arabic, honey, spices, and medicinal plants?
Well, thank you for that question. I think that is a great segue into the conversation. So to start off, I just want to point something out. When it comes to exporting goods of any, or minerals, or any resources out of Nigeria, you have to do it the right way. So I would say develop an expert market readiness toolkit. So anyone who is ready to export out of Nigeria, small businesses, whether you're small or large, you have the right things to do so. You have the right information, you have the right knowledge, you're packaging your product in the right way, you have the right forms to push out. So you are successful in coming into the US. We've seen problems where we have businesses who are coming in with shea butter, for example. They have beautiful shea butter. It's the highest quality. And the problem is they do not package it right? So when it gets to customs, it may be thrown out. So we don't want that product to go to waste. We want to help you do what you do best and be successful in the States. As well as, along with having that readiness, I would say facilitating buyer linkages and also building long-term relationships, right? We want to build those relationships by putting you in front of the right people. Like today, you are in the right room. You are here in the right room around the right people to make those connections and be a part of the conversation. So doing virtual B2B virtual sessions with investors, with small business owners, large business owners in the States, getting you in front of the right people, doing expos like this one on a larger scale, also recruiting, talking to the right people when it comes to bringing individuals and consultants into your business to help you build. And also, I would say quality assurance, that goes back to making sure you have the right labeling, you have the right custom forms. Everything is aligned so you are successful, because the business, and I have some stats right here, and I'm just gonna point the statistics out so we can have a conversation. The statistics around lithium, the lithium reserve here in Nigeria is $34 billion, right? The statistics around the shea butter industry here in Nigeria is $1.2 billion. And the global potential of Nigeria when it comes to honey drip is $10 billion. So having the right information and being able to push it out to the right people and grasping onto that, when it comes to exporting, when it comes to even importing, we want you to have those resources. In addition to that, this is my last point, being able to enable access to diaspora-led investment and technical support. We need monies, right? Monies is an important part of your business and what you're trying to put forth. So having the right people in the room, the right investors, building those relationships, the long-term relationships, so you're able to be successful is another point I would say. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Judah. I'm not going to make any comments on that. We're just going to move to the next person. And my question goes to the representative of the Director General of the Raw Material Research and Development Council, by Mr. Abubakar, right? And I know this is an institution uniquely positioned at the nexus of industrial policy, research, coordination, and raw material strategy. And my question to you would be, what specific policy and regulation framework, including those related to land tenure, access to credit, and industrial licensing, are most critical to facilitate and de-risk private sector engagement in sustainable forest and non-forest product value chain in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. As pointed out earlier, I'm representing the DG of Raw Material Research and Development Council, Professor Martins Ikemonso. First and foremost, we must understand that forest is a veritable source of raw materials, fundamentally. So the Council has worked assiduously in policy around research and development and other aspects in harnessing forest resources in terms of raw materials and value addition, especially regarding non-oil exports. The Council has worked in the area of bamboo, for example, shea butter, moringa, and other forest resources. In terms of policy, the Council has developed documents around technical briefs on bamboo development and utilization, and the National Strategy for Competitiveness in Raw Materials Products and Raw Materials and Products Development for the nation. This policy document was approved by the Federal Executive Council in terms of looking at what are the raw materials available? Not only forest resources, the entire raw material value chain from minerals to agriculture and new and advanced materials. As I mentioned earlier, the subject here is forest. Forests represent source of wood and wood products, gums and exudates for the pharmaceutical industry, and pharmaceutical materials, active pharmaceutical ingredients. So this policy document on the National Strategy for Competitiveness is to looked at the mapping of research institutes, manufacturing sector around all the 10 sectors of man, and the raw materials available according to their locations. So say, for example, shea butter. Now, from that developed document, the RMRDs has identified all the shea butter resource states in Nigeria, mapped them against the industries that use this shea butter, and even for export. And now the research institutes that are involved in shea value chain, from the development of R&D in low gestation, high value or high oil yielding seeds, although this is wild, but domesticating them. That is looking at research institutes with those mandates and bringing them together. So we did that for all of, virtually all raw materials in agro and minerals sector. So that's a very important document that the council has looked at in the direction of your question.
All right, thank you so much. My last question for you, and I just want to alert the audience what your agency is doing in terms of supporting the youth and the women in the agroforest sector.
Thank you very much. I'm from NESRA, and what my agency is doing, so far we engage in awareness creation. Like, we understand the importance of forest and the resources therein. So we've been going on awareness, trying to inform the people the importance of forest and the resources and how this should be preserved and protected. We have regulations on ground that addresses some parts, like we talk of the alien and invasive species, the endangered species, and currently we are developing a regulation that will address resource harvesting and exploitation of forest products. So what we've done so far is we've created awareness in the local communities, and we'll try to let them know the effects of deforesting the forest, and we'll try to let them, some of the communities, we have what we call a NESRA watch. So there are people that have volunteered to work with NESRA. We have clubs in schools, and right now we are trying to look at the campuses so that we can create the awareness concerning this environmental degradation and forest management activities in the campus as well. So far, the agency have created awareness to the women, to the local community, to the school, the youth in school, the secondary schools, primary schools. So we are moving forward to the tertiary institution as well. So we are working towards that, and we believe that with all this effort that the people will be fully aware and be, as they're engaged and they are part of the movement, our forest shall be preserved, and the $2 billion we are talking about will be able to access it, and the sustainability will be established as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everything is possible. Thank you, my panelists. I appreciate your contribution. I just want to conclude that there's a lot to be said, but there is so much opportunity for Nigeria to really use this, unlocking this $2 billion to help women and youth. It's my passion. And being the CEO of African Food Import Association USA, we are based in Charlotte. We are passionate to help to make that happen. There are fundings available, but we need a platform where we can actually make that possible. And we need the collaboration of every agency, government, parastatals, to come and have a roundtable and discuss this so that we can add value to our women and children and the youth. Remember, they constitute 60% of what we're discussing. God bless you and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. We'd like to please ask the photographers and Dr. Zaru, please can we have you here? Thank you. To join the panelists for a photograph session. While they take their picture, we'd like to recognize and ask those for the next panel to please be on standby. For the final panel, we're going to be speaking on agroforestry for economic and financial inclusion, boosting livelihoods in Nigeria for underserved communities. Agroforestry for economic and financial inclusion, boosting livelihoods in Nigeria for underserved communities. I'd like to find out if the moderator is here, Architect Olanrewaju Olushola. Can we see by wave of hands? Architect Olanrewaju Olushola. Please, if you're here, we'd like you to please just come up straight. Thank you very much, panel 3. Well done, well done, well done. Can we have the moderator for panel 4? Architect Olanrewaju Olushola. Is he here? Okay, with the other panelists, Dr. Princess Aderemi Adedowale, are you here, please? Dr. Princess Aderemi Adedowale, please, as I call your name, if you're here, would like you to please just come up. This is the final panel session for today. Do we have Pastor Joseph Odiase in the house? Please come up, sir. Do we have Architect Biodun Owoborode? Architect Biodun Owoborode? Dr. Ade Fakbonle, please come up, our panelists for the 4th panel session. Architect Nina Nimi Briggs would like to please welcome you to the panel session. So this is the final, welcome, sirs. Welcome, ma'am. You're welcome. So we'll just go with the already established protocol. 2 minutes each, straight to the point. And thank you very much, our dear participants. You've done very well. We're winding down.
It's been a long day. Please just endure with us. We're going to have this last one, have the concluding remarks of our esteemed, very critical stakeholders, the messages we have taken, and then please. It's been a long day, but you've all made it worthwhile. Thank you, sir. Are we ready, sir? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, moderators. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lanre Olushola. I'm an architect, CEO of Creation Consult Incorporated, Vice President of Association of Consulting Architects Nigeria, as well as the President of the American Institute of Architects in Sub-Saharan Africa. So I'm going to go straight to the questions for the panelists. There had been a bit of a tweaking of those who speak on what and all of that, and we're going to make that work. That's not a problem for us. So I'll start with Dr. Princess Aderemi Adebowale. We are looking at financial inclusion, and by virtue of what you do as the National Program Manager for Renewed Hope National Homegrown School Feeding Program, we want to ask you, are there existing successful examples or pilot projects in Nigeria or other African countries that you might know, where agroforestry and financial inclusion initiatives have significantly boosted livelihoods in underserved communities? And what key lessons can we draw from them for broader implementation, especially with a focus on what you do about the homegrown feeding program for women and youth? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizers of this program. Thank you very much. So, like you have rightly said, I'm the National Program Manager for the Renewed Hope National Homegrown School Feeding Program. One of the successes that I can say we have recorded in Nigeria is our smallholder farmers as part of this inclusiveness in homegrown. As the name implies, homegrown. What we have in place right now is to make sure that almost 90% of the food that we source for school feeding are from smallholder farmers. So as part of this discussion, if our smallholder farmers are not having financial inclusion, a level playing ground in the forest, in the agroforestry system, it will, at the end of the day, affect the last mile food off-takers from their hands. So the successes that we have had, again, in Africa, in the ECOWAS, over 30 million children were being fed worldwide in the ECOWAS. And Nigeria alone was feeding over 10 million children across ECOWAS. So Nigeria is a pace setter when it comes to school feeding. When it comes to smallholder farmers, Nigeria is also a pace setter because, again, imagine feeding over 10 million children every day, and we are sourcing our food from, the produce from the smallholder farmers. So having that inclusion, looking at cooperatives for our smallholder farmers, the level playing ground where they can source for financial support, also technological innovations for them, so that they can use technologies, for their, for their produce. Also, since morning, I've been here since around 11 o'clock, and I have to say this, I've not had one person mention smallholder farmers, and that pained me. My brother, I have to say this. The food that we eat, all of us here, 90% comes from smallholder farmers, including our women that are smallholder farmers now, including our youth that are going into farming. So having that level playing ground in the agroforestry to make sure that deforestation is curbed, to make sure that in the underserved communities we are utilizing and we are thinking about our smallholder farmers, that man that can farm in his community but cannot take it out. Do you understand? So it's very important that we include the smallholder farmers and sourcing from them and the financial inclusion, as part of this economic inclusion that we are deliberating on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and for keeping to time.
I'm a woman.
Pastor Joseph Odiase.
Yes, please.
Pastor Odiase is a Tropical Wood Exporter Association of Nigeria, is of that association, and also a member of the NFTF. Given Nigeria's rapid deforestation and reliance on fuel wood, how can agroforestry practices be effectively scaled up to contribute to both forest conservation and the economic well-being of rural communities, especially those dependent on forest resources? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Odiase Omozoje Joseph, Secretary General, Tropical Wood Export Association, and the Resource Mobilization Personnel for National Forest Trust Fund. Basically, to answer your question without wasting time, I think the first thing to do is to engage in education and training of the local farmers in order to be able to use the forest platform to grow other commodities that will be beneficial to the community and the people in the community. Secondly, the government should engage in financial incentive, empowering the local farmers financially to be able to grow these products, and just not just by growing the products, also being able to, have access to markets where they can sell these products when they are grown. Secondly, policy support. Policy support is very critical because I remember very carefully in 2016, 2017, they then got engaged exporters, in a round table on how the exporters can contribute to the economic well-being of the nation, even though the policy itself from inception, has been bastardized by the state government, because the policy for wood export is that when you cut one, you should plant 3. What we did as an association then was to come together and contribute to a national fund, which eventually gave birth to what we call the National Forest Trust Fund today. And by that, we were able to, plant trees across the nation. Aside that, we're also able to, have personal forest plantations, estates across the nation. We have in places like Adamawa, Abeokuta, Edo State, and several other places like that. Furthermore, I think capacity to access market by the local farmers is equally important. And that comes to the fact that, I want to appreciate the present administration of our dear father, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is embarking on several road construction across the nation that will give, capacity to local farmers to access, city markets so that their products don't get bad. So I believe with all this and so many other programs which are already lined up with the Forestry Department, because they have a whole bunch of policies. Over the years, we've had several conferences like this over and over and over. But I think the most important is that, like what most people have said here today, let us not just talk. Let us do the do. Let us do the work. Let us ensure that these policies translate to benefits for the average Nigerian person. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Joseph Obiase. Dr. Ade Fakmonle is a consultant, physician, an environmental advocate, and kidney health specialist. But I hear that all doctors are ubiquitous, right? I'm going to ask you, what policy adjustments, legal frameworks, and institutional collaborations are necessary to create a supportive environment that facilitates access to finance for agroforestry and ensures that benefits are equitably shared among local communities? In your own words, in 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Dr. Fakmonle. Yeah. So I will look at this under the 3 headings that you've given to me to look at things. Under the policy, the institution, and the legal frameworks that we need for this. For policy, I understand, I know that there's a national agroforestry policy at the moment, which we hope that government can finalize and implement. That will help. There many things have been incorporated into that, and I'm sure that will do a lot of justice in this area. For also, in terms of getting institutional frameworks for this, I would really encourage a form of multi-sectoral, national multi-sectoral development agency that government can put into place that will incorporate the Federal Ministry of Agric, traditional rulers, and everybody coming together, even some CSOs, all coming together to collaborate and share ideas, and put that thing in place that would help the agroforestry market. It's going to be multi-sectoral, as it were. Things like under the legal framework, things like the Land Use our Act that has, I'm not sure it has done enough justice in incorporating the women and youths. If that can also be looked into, we can strengthen the Act at the moment that will give more inclusion to women, give more inclusion to youths, and so by the time they have more access to land, and then have access to more cooperatives. In fact, government can even come with the local cooperative agencies that you have. Government can give legal backings to these institutions on local basis, invariably providing more funds to the end users, as it were, such that by the time you give legal backings to these cooperatives, if you call them agroforestry, if you name them agroforestry cooperatives, they will have more access to funds. Invariably, you will also provide them a push to be able to export some of these things, give them license to be able to send some of these things they are making on the local ground and make sure they get outside the country. That's the way, in a long way, will make some difference. Then it would be nice for government to also, for us to also collaborate and have collaborate with universities, create some agroforestry hubs with universities, in such a way that, agroforestry enterprise is taught to the universities. It's almost going to be like, it's going to be an agroforestry hubs across all the universities, incorporating ideas of how youths generally can, and even students can learn this right from, even when they're in school, and run with this. I think this go a long way in making some difference in this area. Thank you.
Hello? All right, that's good. All right, last but not the least, definitely by all means not the least, Architect Nina Architect Nina Briggs is the CEO of Deckard Tyler Limited, a firm of architects, project management consultants, and development. Let me ask you this last question. How can the diverse economic values of forests, including non-timber forest products and ecosystem services, be better recognized and integrated into national economic planning and investment strategies to unlock financing for sustainable agroforestry? In your words, in 2 minutes.
My words, 2 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think I would pivot a bit and just run through a few notes I've made to respond to your question. You know, listening to the conversations that have been had all day today, you observe quite a lot of fragmentation in the system. Now, you talk about how do we identify, the question here says non-timber forest products and ecosystem better recognized. You know, my ask is, have we enumerated them? Have we identified them? Do we know what exactly we're dealing with? And you know, when you think about that, and then you also think about the fragmentation in this system, you say to yourself, there's got to be a bit more joined up thinking across the system. There's got to be a lot more inter-agency collaboration. There's got to be a lot more data independence and sincerity, if you ask me. There's got to be a lot more, I mean, there's so many layers of things that actually go into identifying what these potentials are and how they can actually make an impact in the to the economy or for the economy. It's advocacy is good. I mean, to all intents and purposes, what's been happening here, the bulk of today, has been advocacy. But that advocacy without the commensurate action is very difficult to amount to anything. Because, funnily enough, when you think about all the initiatives that have been talked about on stage today, some of which I must admit are new to many of us, when you think about them, because there isn't that much joined up thinking, you find that effectiveness is very limited. It's very, it's far too pocketed and dispersed. So there has got to be a very strong policy, top-down policy drive and energy that takes on board all the stakeholders, all the players, and understands how they fit into an overall master plan, if I can put it that way. Because that's about the only way you can identify what these elements, what these ecosystem services, and how these strategies can unlock additional, potentials to the economy. Outside of that, we will just, sad to say this, but we're going to continue in our little circles and pockets, doing one thing or the other, and never seeing any desirable aggregate impact on the system. So that's my, I think, 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, my panelists, each and every one of you, for your contribution on time. I'd like to hand over the proceedings to the compere.
Thank you very much. Let's have the photograph here, please, quickly. Let's have the last photograph. Please put your hands together. Yes. Hello. Yes, please. Thank you very much. So much light has been generated. I like what the last speaker said. It's advocacy, but advocacy must be backed up by stringent action for us to make. But then we've made a very important first step. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, all the panelists. We are on the home stretch now. This plane is about to land. At this point, I would like to invite Haja Aisha Barde, Commissioner on Climate and Environment, Taraba State, representing His Excellency the Executive Governor of Taraba State, to please deliver His Excellency's message. And thereafter, we will be having Alhaji Yakubu Mohammed Kolo, Commissioner on Climate and Environment, Niger State, following suit. Sorry, ma'am. Not total depot. Fine, all right.
Distinguished participants, I would like to stand on the already established protocol. I recognize you all. I'm here to deliver a goodwill message on behalf of His Excellency, the Governor of Taraba State, Dr. Abu Kefas. It says, "It is with sincere regret that I'm unable to be physically present at this critical, important summit due to pressing state responsibilities. However, I extend warm greetings and goodwill on behalf of the government and good people of Taraba State. I commend the organizers of this great summit for these strategic initiatives to unlock the immense potential of our forests and border communities. The timing and focus of this summit align perfectly with the pressing need to drive sustainability, inclusiveness, resilience through forest-based economic models. Taraba State is proud to be one of Nigeria's most richly endowed states in biodiversity and forest resources. We have therefore prioritized the sustainable development of our green economy as a pillar of our long-term master plan. To this end, we have established the Taraba State University of Tropical Agriculture, Science, Technology, and Climate Change located in Sardona, local government of the state. This institution is designed to serve as a center of excellence for research, innovation, and human capital development in the forest and green economy. Additionally, we have inaugurated the Taraba State Natural Resources and Green Economy Council to provide strategic guidance and intergovernmental collaboration on sustainable natural resource management. Taraba State is willing and ready to collaborate with all relevant stakeholders and organizers of this forum to harness the objectives and aims of this great program. As we deliberate today, I urge all participants to think boldly, act strategically, and remain committed to these policies and programs that will transform our resources into engines of wealth, jobs, and environmental stewardship. I wish you fruitful deliberations and a highly successful summit. Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Please, let's put our hands together for Haja Aisha Baride, representing His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Taraba State. And now, Alhaji Yakubu Mohammed Kolo, your words on behalf of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Niger State. Yes, sir, I have invited you. All right, then let's be attentive. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Standing on the existing protocol. I'm here on behalf of His Excellency, former Governor Dr. Umaru Mohammed Bago, who is unavoidably absent, to read his goodwill message. It is with great pleasure that I express my sincere appreciation for the opportunity to be invited as a special guest to this summit and to express my goodwill message. On behalf of the government and good people of Niger State, I congratulate the Presidential Committee on Economic and Financial Inclusion and Border Communities Development Agency for their collaborative foresight to organize this summit at a time like this. The theme of this summit, Sustainability of Nigerian Forests, Unlocking the $2 billion Potential for Economic and Financial Inclusion, resonates deeply with Niger State's commitment to sustainable development and economic diversification. I commend the collaborative spirit behind this summit, recognizing it as a crucial step towards realizing the ambitious goals of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR Renewed Hope agenda, particularly the aspiration for a 1 trillion economy by 2030. Niger State, with its abundant forest resources and diverse non-forest products, stand ready to contribute significantly to the national endeavor. We believe that formalizing this asset into structured value chains will not only create sustainable job opportunities, but also significantly boost our internally generated revenue. The prospect of generating carbon credits and other benefits at no cost to the state is particularly exciting and align perfectly with our vision for ecological balance and economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, furthermore, we are especially keen to explore the broader aspect of these collaborations, including bridging power gaps through renewable energies, establishing direct-to-device digital access infrastructure, and securing project funding through sustainable mechanisms like public-private partnership, transforming digital and financial inclusion into tangible trade and tax revenue. Along with developing states, state-level compacts and inclusion blueprints will be instrumental to ensuring inclusive prosperity for all. The Niger State government is committed to inclusive governance and regional development. We are eager to engage with top government officials and private sector actors at this summit, exchanging ideas and forging partnerships that will drive sustainable growth and unlock immense potential of Nigerian forest economy. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we extend our best wishes for a successful and impactful summit. We are confident that the outcomes of these 2 days will lay a robust foundation for a more prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable future for Nigerian border communities and the nation as a whole. Thank you, and God bless the Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
And God bless Niger State as well, Honorable Commissioner. Yes, thank you very much. And so now finally, let me invite Dr. Oyesanwen Augustine Adekunle to deliver His Excellency the Executive Governor of Ogun State's message. PS Forestry. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, distinguished participants. Yes.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Yeah. Good day, all. I want to align with established protocol. His Excellency's goodwill. He has sent his pleasure and a deep sense of responsibility to this August gathering, and on this occasion, I'm trying to abridge the message. However, Nigeria is one of the countries with the highest rate of deforestation in the world. It is put at about 33.5% of forests cover annually. This deforestation is promoted by unsustainable farming, illegal logging, urbanization occasioned by overpopulation and insecurity, which have impacted negatively on the economic potential of our forests. As we gather today, it is an opportunity for us to reflect on the possible ways to conserve this important ecosystem and to harness the inherent potential thereof to promote the green economy. This is achievable by the promotion of sustainable forest management, reforestation, supporting community forest management, and investing in forest-based value chain. This will help to unlock the socioeconomic benefit and also conserve the biodiversity for future generation. For the forest economy, if sustainably managed, has the potential to create millions of jobs, support rural livelihoods, enhance climate resilience, and drive Nigerian low carbon paths for a sustainable future. However, achieving this vision requires effective collaboration of all stakeholders, such as government, private sector, NGOs, and forest-dependent communities. It also involves innovative deployment of modern technology, appropriate policy implementation, enforcement of relevant laws and regulations, and above all, a commitment to share responsibility and vision of the green economy. In line with the above, Ogun State has enlisted into the federal government's RED Plus readiness program to promote sustainable forest management, enhance carbon stock, and has created another 4,000 hectares as protected forests and a wide life sanctuary in Itasin community under the Ogun East Senatorial District. This is a genuine feat and is in line with the global forest goals of United Nations Forest Forum. To this end, I call on all the stakeholders to demonstrate commitment as we walk the talk to achieve the vision of the green economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thank you very much, sir. Please, let's put our hands together for the representative. P.S., I was almost going to say His Excellency. Is that prophetic? Maybe you would be. Dr. Oyesanwe Augustine Adekunle. Before him, Malan Yakubu Muhammad Kolo and Hajia Aisha Bardi. Look, there is no gainsaying it. If we must make progress, the subnationals have got to be on board. Your Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, all that has a beginning must have an end. But if there is anything we walk away with today, it is that forests are not just trees to be cut down for timber. They are economic engines, climate buffers, and community lifelines that have not been utilized. And that is why we've had a session like this. And at this point, the one man on whose desk it sits, who has conveyed this forum, who has also others before it, whether it's the ASO Accord or the She's Included Conference, and I think he does deserve. Please, for the opt-in time, let's put our hands together for Dr. Nuruddin Zauro. And I do not say this because he's seated here or because he has put this together. There is a deliberateness and a continuity in policy implementation and advocacy of initiatives that it's quite uncommon on this side. So we salute you. And on that note of salutation, we invite you, Technical Assistant to the President, to come and make your closing remarks, drawing the curtains on this hugely successful maiden summit on the forests of Nigeria. It is the first, but without a doubt, the conversations we continue, I can guarantee you that it will not be the last. Please let's welcome Dr. Nuruddin Abubakar Zauro, TA to the President on Economic and Financial Inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. Once again, good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. To be honest with you, I'm becoming like a speechless here because of your contribution for making this event a successful one indeed. But the question here is that it's not about the event. It's actually the aftermath of the event. I think takeaway and then implementation of whatever policy decisions, conversations, and then the outcome. And eventually, what kind of impact are they going to make to the common man out there, the poor man in different villages from every corner of this country? I think that should be the concentration at the moment. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in all fairness, we heard the speech from the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That tells a lot of stories in terms of request for putting a structure, implementable structure, in place in order to bring all the parties involved together to be able to chart a way forward for this conversation we had today, and then the impact they're going to make, and of course, implementation of that policies in line with the national blueprint of this country. And that national blueprint is, of course, the Renewed Hope agenda of Mr. President. Somewhere in April last year, 2024, this administration also signed an ASWA Accord that speaks to collaboration, coordination, and all of that. So I'm sure you're fully aware that this initiative was actually put together here in collaboration with certain public and private sector institutions. Particularly, we have Winds Energy. We sincerely appreciate them for their support, as well as even in coming together to conceptualize this, because it is our duty actually to speak the language of Mr. President of inclusivity. We're trying to identify all the areas that are silent, that are untapped, with whole lot of potentials and economic opportunities, and that is why some people are quite like excited with the topic, because we are talking about the 2 billion. As an accountant, we always become too conservative, but I can tell you that this space can give us more than $10 billion potential. So I'm really appreciating the WIN synergy that came together to partner with us. The same thing also goes to the Border Community Development Agency, which also come together to put that structure in place, particularly that, Border Community is like an agency that is, representing 21 states in Nigeria, as well as 104 local governments across every part of this country. So it is also important to note that most of the services in terms of economic impact, in terms of economic activities and all of that, border communities sometimes, or most times, stands at a disadvantaged position. So for that reason, it is part of the inclusivity agenda of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to ensure that all are included. When we speak about exclusion in the past, you're talking about people with disability, you're talking about gender, you're talking about youth and other variables. So in this administration, to tell you that we're trying to unlock other areas, and this is one of such, and at least today, all of us here are living here with the mindset that forest is not just about trees or all of that. There are so many economic potentials, out there that we can actually tap from. So honestly speaking, without taking much of your time, I would really, really like to sincerely appreciate everyone that play very important role in making this event a successful one. But top on the list is actually the organizing committee. You guys are wonderful people. We've been working on this matter day in, day out to ensure the successful hosting of this event. Then also appreciation also goes to our sponsors. They came here and make this summit a reality. The participants, especially that comes all the way from different part of this country, not only this country, but different part of the world. We also have Quito Limited. I think they are also among the top players. The professor, Rich, that came all the way, I think from Germany or from China. He came in actually about 2 days ago, just to ensure that we work together towards supporting Mr. President's agenda in unlocking all the excluded areas and ensure that they are included in this administration's journey towards $1 trillion economy. Our also representative of different governors, that came around here, also different ministries, departments, and agencies that contributed in this space, our MSME players, as well as also small and medium enterprise, especially the women who have always been very, very supportive. So what I would like you to leave here with here is that this administration actually operates an open door policy, and I can assure you if there's anything that is going to come up, we're going to find a window through which we will communicate. We have we have all our social media handles. We are also having our website, that is www.prisify.gov.ng, but it's being finalized. I think currently there is an upgrade that is being worked on, so even if you check it now, you may not, but in the next 1 week or so, it's going to be pretty much available. So please, you should be patronizing so that you can get the current updates that we're working, particularly around this economic inclusion, economic opportunities, as well as the financial inclusion for the space. And then again, the request for that structure in the presidency that has been said by the vice president, I can assure you the structure has been established. So we're going to reach out to all the agencies involved, especially the subnationals, who are ably represented also in this room. Gentle ladies and gentlemen, sincerely speaking, I cannot thank you enough, so I would like to use a general word of saying, especially our brothers in the academia. They have shown us that there are lots of research that we can actually unlock within this space. So we're also constrained by the time, because initially we conceived this thing to be a 2-day event, but because of the fact that there is also another key event here tomorrow, so it has to be adjusted to accommodate this. I'm sure you had a lot of academic conversation, but I can assure you it's not going to be just academic discussion. It's going to be an implementable steps. So we will also try to publish the communique, the outcome of this conversation, and then the next steps. Like I rightly said, our doors are open, and we will ensure that we open such doors so that you can always call in, and then again, if you have any contribution to make in this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, so that we can move forward. President has told you multiple times that government alone cannot do it. So we have to collaborate with all the private and public sector actors. We all know now globally that all the countries that have succeeded, developed countries, they are not developed by government. The government has no business in business. Government responsibility is actually what? To put enabling environment, policies, and program, and that's exactly we are calling to action to ensure that you go home happy, and of course to put such a structure where you, maybe especially as MSMEs, can do some legitimate businesses and of course have their pocket full to make money and of course employ other people so that at the end of the day Nigeria's GDP will increase to $1 trillion economy by the year 2030. Thank you so much once again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We sincerely appreciate you. And by that, this meeting has now been brought to close. Good evening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zaro. Can we give him a final round of applause for a job well done? Thank you very much, sir, for the foresight and the initiative to put this together alongside the sponsors. It's been a long day, and I want to appreciate everyone who turned up, who traveled from far and near to be part of this event today. It's our prayer that as you go back, the Lord will take you safely to your respective destinations. Just let us know that lunch is served in the dome. The dome is just outside here from the back door to your right. It's just the hall behind, and take the door to your right. We have sumptuous lunch, enough for everyone. So please don't go away. Mohammed, it's been a beautiful day. My name is Mia Baka, and I'm glad to have worked alongside Mohammed as my co-anchor for today. And so, till we come together again to have the further conversations, it's been the maiden edition of a Nigeria Forest Economic Summit. And you made history today by being part of this event today. We had conversations on the sustainability of Nigeria's forests, unlocking the 2 billion potential for economic and financial inclusion. Thank you very much, and have a good evening. Thank you. Lunch is served at the dome, just behind the hall, the door to your right takes you to the dome. There's enough